So how many people believe that the troubled genius narrative? I mean, it's one thing to think about that, isn't it? And really all it's doing, all that narrative is, oh, you're the troubled genius, is basically, we must take credit for causing your troubles. We're not wrong, we just brought the genius out in you by causing you a load of shit. Yet, how do you not know that that's sort of, without the chaos, it would have still arose? Do you get what I'm saying? So most people will say, oh, maybe it's because of the life you lived, and it was because we gave you all those hard times. We made your life hard. See, this is what we were doing. We were making geniuses. But then again, when we look around, how many people actually got troubled lives? Does it create genius? I don't think it does. And I think it's just a good narrative to say that we're not responsible. We're not responsible for our neglect or our badness onto you. Therefore, it flips it, because you've got to always commend yourselves. So if you cause someone to have an easy life and they become genius, you'll say, it's because we gave you an easy life. It's because we made life for you this way. But yet, if it was you caused a load of trouble and then we're like, oh, see, we did this so that we made you. We were trying to make you by giving you this hard life. That's why we gave you the hard life. And then it is deniability of responsibility, because you always got to be the ones that take credit for creating. And that's how you cash in on people. And then you try and make them believe that if they didn't have that trouble, that they should be grateful for all of that shit that they put you through, because that's what made you. If we didn't do that, you would never be this. You got to be very careful when narratives start getting spun. People are often hypocrites, by the way. They are. They're very much hypocrite. So let's spin it another way, right? So people who walk into success usually have a troubled background, let's say. Not all of them, but most. And then they get a large amount of money and success and fame. Does that make them less of what they are? So you can see two formats, a contrast of light and dark, and they are the vessels in the middle. They spent their whole first part of their life going through absolute shit. And then the system is credited for that, because they created the shit, so technically we created you. Then they get a load of success, money, fame, and then look at what the system gave to you once again. But they don't change. Usually they remain on the same trajectory. So which one was it then? So now the system is responsible for both ends of that spectrum. For the creation of your genius and the ongoingness of your genius. Because it has to be responsible for creating things, when really the true test would be, what happens if we didn't have the system at all? What happens if we didn't have the pressures at all? And what happens if we didn't have the rewards at all? Would the individual authentically still be that authentic, with the trouble or without the trouble? Without the grief or with it? We can often be manipulated in things like that, can't we? Where we think, oh yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way. And I sit there and think to myself, am I really saying that? Or am I saying that to basically soften my edges? And then these individuals that caused the trouble sort of think, yeah, secretly, oh, we created that. Look at what we created. We created the monster. We created the masterpiece. We created it. But did you? Did you? Did it? Did your behaviors transpire this, or have your behaviors caused it to be hampered? And therefore, that then takes the resilience off of you and the creativity from you and any other force that resides with you, and it puts the limelight on a mortal form Because if it was creating geniuses, a troubled genius, then how come the results are so minimal? Why is this not standard education then, if you know how to make people in this way? So, that is a very interesting thing, isn't it? Well, if you ever think about it. But again, most people don't. They'll kind of think, yeah, it was because of all of this shit is what made me me. It was because of all of this stuff is what made this happen for me. And then you sort of give out your power, don't you? Or it manipulates you to take more or less. Interesting. Anyway, that's just a little thought there. We'll get onto some more later. This is just me warming up, I suppose. So which is it then? You created it because of all of your troubles that you threw at somebody, and then you create a genius because you throw a load of troubles at people? Right. And then what? Life is not possible of creating geniuses. It's never created them throughout history. And was that because of hard times? And then that means that we are all, then it puts a narrative into other people, doesn't it? Well, what's that narrative? That narrative would then mean that here you are, everyone. If you want to become a genius, you've got to go through hard times. That's how we're going to create them, you see. Look, see? That's why we give you struggle without actually saying it. And then for that struggle, we're going to reward you afterwards, maybe, maybe not. It's an interesting thing, that. Anyway, but still, yeah, I think it's the unspoken requirements for society, isn't it? That's where it resides, isn't it? Troubled geniuses were created by trouble. Okay, if you believe so. I don't. I think it will be that way regardless, personally. Because if you're destined to be it, you're destined to be it, right? If you're destined to be the songwriter, you're going to be destined to do that whether you've got a troubled life or not. And then what kind of music would you then be creating? Happy music if you come from a happy life, or if you come from a good life, would you create happy music? If you come from a bad life, would you understand bad music? Not bad as in it's terrible, no, as in really pulls on the heartstrings, which then makes everybody else who are going through those heartstring moments, and there's so many people, which one's going to be more successful if I were to make a song? A happy song or a low vibe song? And then it depends on how many people are in low vibe mode. Well, quite a few. How many people are then going to clutch to the low vibe song as opposed to a happy song? Regardless of repetition, you can get used to so many things in repetition. You can play a song over and over and over and over and over again, and the more you play it, the more it can settle in. That's not a happy song or a sad song. No, I'm on about one that's found somewhere and people are like, oh my god, I really feel this, without any repetition being needed. That's interesting. So again, if you're playing something on the radio over and over again, it can be an awful song, an annoying song, and people can like it after a while because they miss the sound. That's repetition. Crazy Frog, whatever it was called. Absolutely annoying. It was annoying when it first came out, and then it continues to be annoying afterwards, but the more people listen to it, a lot of people kind of liked it, and then they hated it. You see, that's an experiment, that. But authenticity then relies on calculation, how many people are in misery, and therefore troubled genius narrative sticks better because many people are in a misery mindset. So therefore they can relate to that misery, that trouble, and then they get hope from it without ever being told hope. and then they hope that one day they might have that breakthrough. Interesting. So if you had a species that were happy, they're going to be more resonant towards happy songs because it talks about them, the majority, as opposed to unhappy people. Misery songs would speak to them more, because if that person can do it despite all of that, then maybe there's chance for me. And then this opens up a door to say that it's okay to keep having misery, because I might get my breakthrough through this grief. I might get it. And then that becomes hope glorified. Commodity. Money on grief. Interesting. Oh well. It is what it is, I suppose, but still. That is interesting.